All right, let's go ahead and set the mood for today. I've got my iced coffee and I have my notebook, and this is what we're flipping through today. This is my 6th bullet journal, and it's square, and it was my very first one, and I absolutely love this notebook so much. So much so that I think I'm going to go square for my next one. This notebook took me from August 2020 through May of 2021, so this is pandemic time inside of here. This is an Archer and Olive notebook, and I loved the design on this one so much. I think this is one of the first square notebooks that they came out with, and that's why I was like, I'm going to give it a try. One of my favorite parts of the square notebook is actually the grid, because it's super easy. So in the back of my notebooks, I always put the grid. This just helps me out with spacing, and this notebook needed it. There's so much space in a spread, so this is super helpful. The squares are 37 by 37. Your columns, if you broke them into two, were 18 squares, or you turn it to the side and your rows were 18 squares. There's a lot of spacing and cool grids inside of this notebook, and I had a lot of fun. I'm excited to share it with you today. All right, so the very first page on here is going to be my key. I definitely created this for the gram because I've been doing bullet journaling for quite some time. I know all of these things, but as a part of the process in setting up this notebook, and even for the reviews now, if you're not familiar with bullet journaling, this is a great way to kind of know what's going on and to see how people use their bullet journal. So I always still like to add that in my notebooks if I need to. The index, this was kind of cool because these pages were so wide. I was actually able to fit like 2 pages worth of an index on one. I did create 2 just in case I needed more space over here, but this is 125 pages of an index on one page. I love this size. It's like a mix between an A5 and a B5 notebook. It kind of has the best of both worlds in it. Then I put my future log. It's a very sad example of a future log. Don't do as I do, friends. I really didn't use my future log this year, and I'm not quite sure. There was so much that was going on, and I even went into a new year about halfway through, and I created a little paste in, and then I barely used that as well. So just a bad example of how not to use a future log, essentially. I use it better now. Then in my bullet journals, in the very beginning, I put all of my reoccurring meetings. So the very first pages I have here are all of my one-on-ones with my team. At that time, I was managing 6 individuals, so everyone has their own column here as we went through with that. I just split the page in half, created a small header for myself, and then used a banner here, so it worked out pretty nicely. Also created a header for our Creative Weekly. This is a weekly design meeting that I had with my team. It's funny because my weekly team notes look a lot different now than they did back here. These were just like high level, what's something to pay attention to, whereas now it's like what's going on, who's working on what needs to be done next. More reoccurring design meetings that I had going on, and our design community meeting, which was really exciting because this is when we really kicked things off. This is the first year that I created the Lunch and Learn program along with my teammates. We're still holding strong on that program at work, and I love it so much. 2 more reoccurring meetings, and then a really exciting Instagram and YouTube tracker here. This is a really important tracker for me, especially for YouTube, because this was the year that I focused on becoming monetized, and I had a goal I needed to reach. I needed to get to 4,000 subscribers. I forget how many viewing hours you needed to have to hit that, but I was just like, how do I make it all happen? So I tracked it from August, and I tracked it weekly, and then finally on December 13th, I hit 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I was very excited about that, and a little switch happened, and I became monetized, and it's been great ever since. My Instagram tracker is a wild one here for sure. Very confusing, even for myself to try to read through it. I don't know what in the world I was doing, but I was obviously tracking by hundreds. I started this at 12,200, and if I follow my path, I ended at 12,900 here. Who knows what I was thinking with this one? I don't know. Just created it. Let's move on. This is my very first monthly overview and just really utilizing the space inside of this notebook. It's one of the reasons I'm so excited to take on another one with my next one, because I can't wait to figure out how to use this space now in a different role, a different time. You know, we're talking about 3 years after this notebook happened. So it'll be cool to even do a comparison of those. But set up the August, set up a big calendar. This is all done in acrylographs. I must have just gotten a new set of acrylographs, so excited that I got to use them right away. And then set up that August overview. I remember doing this down at the beach. I think that's why it has this like really fun, bright feel to it. And this gives me good memories right here. And then we'll get into like other project work, and it won't give me good memories. We're doing agile marketing at the time, some other collection pages. This was the big project that I was talking about. This happens literally throughout this entire notebook. It was like ginormous and so much stuff that was happening, good and bad. So one of the things that I do in this notebook, and I still do this now, is that if a collection page continues on to another page, I put a little note. So this was all of my notes here. Then that continued on page 17, and then I put a little back. This is on page 14. So I do this often with my collections, especially if they go on multiple pages. Real quick weekly overview, just doing some lettering, just doing some drop shadows and getting stuff on the page overall. Then this, I think, is like a great example of how much you can really fit into a square bullet journal. Over here on the left-hand side, I have my weekly overview. I have a task section. I have trackers on the margins of these pages, and even an area for what's happening that following week. And then I have, continued notes over here as well. So there's a lot that can happen on these pages. I love it. It's so much fun. This next page here is just a big old wide page, Monday through Friday over here on the left-hand side, notes. Obviously, the big thing on the center of this page here is this mental health matters. So another sticker that I probably got that the kids got for their computers. This was in September, so they were just going back to school at this point. So that's what it was. They got a bunch of vinyl stickers. I got the leftovers. One thing that I notice in this notebook as we go through with it is I start to see themes, or you'll see me use a quote, or you'll see me do something like this because something at the time is going on. So mental health matters. As I mentioned, we are in the summer of the pandemic. There's a lot of talk about mental health. I think for myself at this time too, I was noticing that both with my team and myself as well, of taking a moment, taking some time, and especially with this huge project we were working on, it was really important for me. Have some vision setting going on over here. So I think I probably saw someone else do a page like this and I was like, that's a good idea. Let's do some vision setting for myself. Also at this point with my boss, we were talking a lot about future vision. Mark, where do you see yourself in the team in a year, 3 years, 5 years? And I'm not really good with vision setting that far in advance. I'm like a week to week, maybe month to month guy. So thinking years in advance, not necessarily my specialty, but getting some ideas and trying some new methods here. When I'm managing people, I would do a few of these. I actually have a few of these pages. So this is crazy to think that it was September. We were already talking about the end of the year. So what I do for these pages and these collection pages, that I'll put all of my different direct reports, feedback section for who we're asking for feedback from. We did some ratings, we did some dates, and I also had a bit of a key as a reminder for myself of when things were due. Self-evaluations were due by 8/31, calibrations, comp, and then performance conversations happening too. This was the big acrylograph time as well. We had that in that August kickoff. I'm also utilizing that in these pages here. This is just an exploration of space for a lot of these. So Monday through Friday and notes on here. We flip it over. We must have been off on Monday because I only have Tuesday through Friday here. Had some little stickers again, just using what I had around at the time. So this is the first time we're seeing these type of stickers in here. So these were from Dolce Planner. I think at the time I was collaborating with her on some stuff. So you'll probably start to see more of her stuff as we go through here. But just little plants, succulents, things like that in the top corners. The layout itself is pretty basic, right? It's just 2 columns, 3 rows with the days of the week. But adding those little pops of something in here, a stamp or a sticker, something like that, can really make a page have some fun for sure. We have a big old brain dump page over here. Usually when I do brain dump pages, it means that my brain is just filled with too much stuff. I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling stressed, and I just get it all out. So I created this page and then I broke it up into columns, one for work and one for social. So it must have been a lot happening at the same time that I was like, I have to break this into work and social for myself. But I find it really helpful. You'll see that I took some things, I migrated them, I took them off of here. Whatever I needed to do, it's just a really great way to just get it all out on a sheet of paper and then just be done with it. This is a common weekly spread that I do, just breaking it into individual columns. We've got the dates, we've got priorities here. I added a weekend, maybe by accident, or maybe on purpose, you never know, but I don't really use them. So everything going on here is just a really cool look at that. Some more meeting notes as I go through. Now we're into October, and these are some cool stickers that I got as a part of like a little subscription box. So they came with markers, and then white and black stickers that you colored in yourself. So I had a little fun there. Massive amount of notes happening across these pages. It still just blows my mind how much can fit onto a spread inside of here. Another fun October one. I was probably being like anti-October by using different colors, but still drawing some pumpkins in here, trying out different things. I'm just doing like real quick brush headers here with the days of the week inside of there, and then all of the notes. This is a fun one. I like this one a lot, mostly because I love plants. So this is just really taking the easy idea of using the columns for the spacing and then just filling in the spaces afterwards. So we did tasks over here on the left-hand side. We put our days of the week here in the margin, and then we had a whole area for notes here. And then in between those, as column dividers, I did some like Monstera plants over here. I did some hanging plants, and this feels like acrylographs again. I can tell it's a paint pen, so you can feel that it's not ink on there. But love the way this looks. Just super fun. All right, so this is the follow-up to my Instagram tracker from the front. So this is one that I've done before, and if you've watched any of my other flip-throughs of my other bullet journals, it probably looks familiar. But the way that I do these is I set up major milestones. So in this case, I was counting by hundreds. So it was 13,000, 13,100, 2, 3, 4, all the way around. And the way that these work is there's 3 of them, and each of them count 25. So 13,025, 13,050, 13,075, then 13,100. And I just count all the way around. I like this tracker because of the patterns. Honestly, I think that when this is fully filled out, it looks really neat. So following along with that and doing that is always a good thing. And this is my first time doing this in a square notebook too. My other ones had much smaller little hexagons, so it was cool to do a bigger version of the other ones. We are back to the pumpkins. My wife must have taught me how to make pumpkins, and then I just put them everywhere. So a cool weekly spread, kind of these tabs throughout, and then just filling in the spaces with some other stuff. 2 lettering things that I love on this page. I love the way this October 2020 looks up here. Added like a little bit of extra marker at the top to create a little bit of shadowing going on. And then this lettering was the first time I've done something like this. It's Halloween. It's all a bunch of hocus pocus, and then adding little highlights to my lettering too. Haven't done that before, I don't think, so I really love the way this page looks because of the lettering that was going on and some of the fun. This is a lot more focus. This is November. We've got some new stamps, I'm guessing, if I'm using them all together like that. So I got something that was like, oh, let's just use these. Let's not create our own headers this week. I like doing these types of spreads. Usually when I introduce something like this, I'm feeling stressed about my calendar. And what I'll do is I'll just create a full look, and this lets me know everything that's happening during that week. Also, I have the height of these pages. They're so big, so I can really fit things in here. So I was just blocking off whenever I had a meeting. Yes, all of this is in my Outlook calendar while I'm working, but I also just like looking at my bullet journal. This is open all day long. I'm working out of it, so being able to see what was going on was really helpful for me. I also like to do some color coding, so I would do lunch all in these colors here. If I was out early, if a meeting got canceled, I would cross it out, and then I just had everything kind of working around it. This was a page that I was definitely experimenting with and trying out, which was putting your days of the week in the top and the bottom, and then filling the center space. I decided to fill it with watercolor, so that's why the page looks a little bent here, a little warped a little bit because of the watercolor here, but interesting. I don't know that I would necessarily do it again. I feel like it's a bit of waste of space, honestly, or if I did do something, I might just do it a little bit thinner. This is all of my end of year notes. So we talked about it earlier. You saw I was planning for it. I have a bunch of pages of end of year. So all of those reviews, all of those surveys, everything that I sent out, I took a note for and then utilized all of this to then write my end of year reviews for my team members. So I love writing. It helps me kind of internalize it and write it down. Not everybody wants to do this, but I really liked it. I think it worked out well. This is a big old weekly spread. It looks like I have some washi tape maybe. I think this might have been a release that Amy Tangerine did with Archer and Olive. So I was just taking that tape, creating quick headers, sticking it down to the page and being done. Just an overview. And then I must have been doing the same thing with washi. That looks familiar, but cutting little pieces out of it and sticking it on there. I don't know. It's colorful. This is a cool weekly. Must have got a hold of a gold pen here. That's why I'm using it so much on here. task, and then a weekly overview of the days of the week. I added Saturday, Sunday in here, didn't end up using it. The coolest part of this page, I think, is what I did here in the margins. And I was thinking, like, why would I have done that? But I think I know why, is that there was so much white space between these two boxes because of how I set this up that I wanted it to look even. So it's two squares, 2 squares, 2 squares. So there is a method to my madness here for sure. And it looks kind of neat. All right, we're getting into the holidays. I can tell by the holiday stickers. Some more stuff from Dolce Planner here. I also got my hands on some metallic gel pens, it looks like. So made it look like little string lights going around. A little bit of a theme, and then tons of messy handwriting. This is what a real bullet journal looks like, at least for me. Last week of December was here before break, and then I started my bullet journal 83 pages in to this new year. I'm sad that this isn't filled out. I know I took a lot of pictures of this page. I know I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and it just makes me sad that I didn't work on it and put stuff in here. But if you're looking for ideas to actually use, I set up a 2021 overview, and then what I did was just set it up by saying, hey, here are the goals that I'd like to achieve this year. Here's the main priorities of things that I would like to work on this year. Because this is mostly for work, I'm doing a lot of this already and having conversations with my boss, but looks like I never came back to it. I did have a little area down here for celebrating small wins. As I mentioned, a lot that happened in the beginning of this year as I got into this. I was feeling pretty stressed. I think it was a mix of just work, the pandemic, just other things that might have been going on. So to say, hey, celebrate the small things probably was relatively intentional. I'm sad I didn't fill it out though. Top 5. I forgot that I did this for 1 month. So the idea here is that every month I would write down 5 things that went really well. So a lot of different stuff that could have happened. January kicked off a Lunch and Learn series. I started a course. I partnered with Office Depot for some tool stuff. And then goals and objectives were things that I got done. I really wish I would have followed up. Like, this is a fun, like, memory keeping thing that doesn't go too far into like the design part of like scrapbooking or memory keeping, but it's a nice way to keep notes. And when you look back on these notebooks, like, it's also cool to be like, oh, what happened then? Didn't follow through. Lunch and Learn meetings, like I mentioned, I just kicked that off last year. We had a new year, so I went ahead and set up a new page and continued with those notes throughout. Added another sticker. I got some little stamps of people and had my team member names here, so it's pretty fun. I also got new stencils for Christmas that my wife bought me, so this page is very much built off of those. Had a big old phone over here, and then there was these little like text bubbles as a part of those stencils, so use them in here. What's my quote say? Simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. All right, maybe I thought I was doing something at that time with simplicity inside of my bullet journal. I don't know. Oh, I have a little like yay section down here. So this is similar to what I wanted to try to do with the monthly, like, hey, here's cool things that happened, but didn't. So I did it on a weekly basis instead. So Dolce Planner stickers, we saw a lot of those. I was working a week ahead on my YouTube videos, which was pretty big. Working with Baron Fig, and then I bought a new toilet. Why did I have to write that on there? I don't know. But what an exciting time for us here at this house. A lot of to-dos, a lot of priorities over here, and some other stuff that was going on too. All right, next, weekly, looking good. Loving these colors, more acrylographs on here. And then these were the Dolce Planner stickers that I was just mentioning in the yays of working along with her. So this was pretty neat. And then also my class began with IDOU, which was nice. So much that can happen in a week. I love it. It makes me smile looking at this. All right, this was a weekly, use some metallic watercolor, it looks like. Wasn't a super busy week, but still setting it up. This is similar to one of the other that I did before, but because these banners needed more space, I had to make these a little bit more thinner. So just different things and variations you can take on your weekly spreads as you're creating them. Some trackers over here. What were we tracking? Exercise, I didn't do great. Sleep, normal. I did really good with water intake, though. That's always good. All right, meeting of my mind. A different way to say brain dump. This should have been an email. That's probably because everything was happening in email right now, or we were having too many meetings, and I had to get it all out of my head. As I mentioned, you're going to see usually these mean things when I'm doing stuff like this. utilizing those stencils again, creating little file folders up here, and then just really writing everything out. I did use a section back here of like email back. I had a little email sticker, and I thought maybe we should track like who we need to email back at that time, but why not just put that inside of your daily log instead? You know, I don't know, trying new things. This is a cool weekly. I'm trying to think where these stickers are from. Probably Archer and Olive. When was this? Do I have a monthly overview? I don't. I didn't even put the dates on here. It just says the days of the week. Oh, here you go. February. So probably the Valentine's Day box from Archer and Olive, it looks like. Those little flowers look like theirs. So that's why I'm like, oh, it had to have come from them. So this week, next week, overview, and then just a ton of notes. All right. Now we know it's in February. So this looks like a cool little stamp that I had. Just put the days of the week, notes, little paper airplane stickers on here too. So just a little black and white deal going on here, but a few little fun elements in the page. Whoa, Mark, what did you do here? Clearly February. A little sticker layering. Look at me. Oh, you know what? I think I did this page with a live at the time and tried some new stuff. It just jogged my memory when I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, sticker layering. I don't know how to do that. Oh, I was probably talking with somebody that was helping me do that. I had these stamps in here, this like digital clock. It's hard to see though, so I used a gold pen, but I can see it in the light. 216. Oh, I did the dates wrong. 217, 218, and 219. Oh, well, look at that. Catching mistakes years and years later. Didn't hold me back. This is a fun one. I remember learning how to make these and was like, I am just going to use these everywhere. They were so fun to make, and these were like super fun patterns to create too. Carried that folder over here to my notes and task section. So just a envelopey theme week, and I like the way that all looks together. This is more of a gridded out page than anything. My goodness. All right, so what do we have here? These were all of the big projects that I was working on. So I must have had a need to pull these out. We'll see as we continue through. This is usually where I'm like, oh, this is way different. There must have been a reason. And I think at this point I was very stressed out about work and projects and had a lot on my plate, so I felt like I needed to like bring them forward. Overview, notes, and tasks over here too. So interesting. All right, next page here. Similar, so just a different layout. So these were my big projects, what I needed to do, what meetings were coming up, what tasks needed to be done, notes, overview, notes. So this means that this was something I needed to pay attention to. So either feedback that I got, I mentioned before, it was a very busy time and a stressful time. So adding these and bringing them forward was definitely something of like, you need to get this together because something's slipping here for sure. Okay, and here they are again. So yeah, definitely a trend of bringing them forward. Got some stamps inside of here and some overview. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So it did the same thing again. So just to show some examples, people are like, how do you create, different spreads with the same idea? Did a horizontal across the middle of my page here with all the main projects I was working on. This got a whole page over here on this side. Similar thing, just a little bit of a different look. Looks like some more acrylographs going on here. So a lot happening at this time for sure. Over here, we just have a Monday, Tuesday, and maybe had a holiday or something. These stamps are familiar. These are from Archer and Olive. And the fact that I'm pulling them down in here is telling me that I probably got into stamps a lot at this time. We'll see what happens. This page over here, this is a very basic and bland looking page, but this is actually a really important page now that I'm reading through it. This was a webinar I went to about getting a job in design operations. And this for me, I had been talking about design operations for years, but I was really focused in on it at this time and really trying to move into a role in design operations. I'm here now, but at this point, it wasn't happening. So writing down these notes is always helpful and just reading back through them and saying, okay, am I doing these things? Do I need to do anything different? It's one of the reasons I love looking back through these notebooks is like it's memories. Oh my goodness. Yeah, definitely into stamping. I was doing a lot of stamp patterns at the time. I love this page. This looks so cool. I don't have space for it now instead of my A5. So, once I have the space, maybe I'll do some more fun stuff like this. All right, more stamps. So this is a big stamping time for me. I can see some Eric Small Things ones here. This over here is one that I carved myself. I think I was just starting to get into stamp carving. So I'm curious if we'll see more of that coming up. But just a weekly overview with those little squares, dates, kind of what's going on. Oh, I drew those. I thought those were stickers. Oh, yes. Definitely a stamperific time for me. So this is one that I made. So I was just starting to get into some stamp carving and trying things out. So I made a big, huge one. Made that the centerpiece of my page here. And then around here in my notes, I can see a bunch of these little tiny stamps. These are from Eric Small Things. And I don't usually do this. So I definitely must have been like, oh, they're new. Let's use them. So there's an example. Man, this is a bright page. All right, another weekly here. Looks like maybe some watercolor happening for some drop shadows. Days of the week notes. I pulled out projects, but I was not in work on Thursday or Friday, it looks like. Never added anything over here, so who knows what happened then. The finale. Is this the last? Yep, this is the last page. So this must have been ending at the end of May. What do we have here? Yep, May 30th. So this is probably why I said, let's not do this anymore after this. Because I was like, well, we only have a handful of pages. That's not going to get me through the month. So this was it here. So just a Monday through Friday with a weekend spot over here. 1 and 2. I was like, what's 1.2? Notes, task over here, and a little bit of a divider. I was trying to get fancy, I think, between these two different things. Just wasn't quite working out. So 144 pages I used up inside of here, with about 10 pages left in the back that I didn't, but I wasn't going to be able to continue in the year with it anyway. So made that decision, went into something new. I loved going through this notebook with you today. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and the square notebook was such a fun size. I really am excited to get back to it again. This is such an exciting time, too, because Archer and Olive had just started putting out these square notebooks, and I thought, well, no better time like today. I mean, I was using A5s all along, so this was my first little step in dipping my toe into a bigger notebook, and I really liked it a lot. And Archer and Olive still carries square notebooks, so if you're interested in getting one for yourself, you can use a discount code that I have, MENWHOBullet10, and that'll save you an extra 10% off of your orders with them. And you try something new, because as you saw in here, a lot of experimentation, a lot of fun stuff happening. If you're interested in checking out any of my other flip throughs of my bullet journal, I'll go ahead and put a playlist for you right here, and you can watch those from my very first one all the way up until my 6th one. A lot of ideas happening in all of those. I appreciate you coming to hang out with me today, and I will talk with you next time. Happy planning.